talk about things from a lens of equity and affordability and everything engagement, and all sorts of creative ways to do that as well. So I'm going to get started by having the panelists introduce themselves. So let's talk a little bit about the cities that you work for, your roles, what's special about working for local government, the good, the bad, anything you want to share. So we'll go ahead and get started this morning with Sue. Tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you, Carrie, and welcome, and thank you, everyone. I'm Sue Burness. I'm the Director of Communications for the City of Dunedin, Florida, and I've been down here about 3 years, and I came down here from the great state of Ohio to the great state of Florida. I had been with the City of Dublin, Dunedin. It has tricked me up many, many times, let me tell you. But I had been there for, my goodness, almost 15 years, and actually first got to know Zencity when I was in Dublin. But my background actually goes back to corporate and then agency as well, PR and marketing agencies. And actually that has served me well as director of communications for a city, because we operate as an in-house agency. Our departments and department heads and staff are clients, and then we work with them to get the content, the messages, the strategies that we need to really take to our community. So that has been a model that has worked really well for us. And working for local government was not something I actually ever planned on doing, but it is something that once you're in it, you're in it to stay, I think, because it is very rewarding. We can actually make a difference in people's lives, and communications is as essential as city service as clean air, water, great schools. It's vital. If residents don't know what's going on, they can't really acknowledge all of the amenities and the great places where they live.
I love it. Angie, let's go over to you.
All right, welcome everybody. Thanks so much for having me today. My name is Angie. I work for the City of Bettendorf, Iowa. We're located right on the mighty Mississippi River, the only part of the river that goes east and west, not north and south. And we're across from the state of Illinois, where John Deere headquarters is in Moline, Illinois, just to kind of give you some geography lesson for the Midwest here. We have a big family of communities on both sides of the river. Our region is called the Quad Cities, which is centralized on 5 cities. And yes, I know that makes no sense, but that's a topic for another day and for another kind of webinar. The City of Bettendorf is a really fast growing city. It's the fastest growing one in our region, the second fastest growing in the state of Iowa. We had a nearly 20% increase in population in the last census. So we're up to about 40,000 people right now. We're expected to grow to 56,000 by the year 2045. And so we've got a ton going on, residential, commercial, you name it. But we really pride ourselves on what our tagline is, which you would see is a premier city, outstanding services, financially sound, a really nice riverfront, strong economy, and just a really great place to be. So I'm the community engagement manager for the city. It's a new position that was created 18 months ago. I left my career as a television news anchor to help the city kind of create this position and shape it into what we think that city communications should be and needs to be in the future. So for the last 18 months, we've really been trying to build that strong foundation. We, created brand guidelines for the first time ever last year, things that I'm sure many of you are understanding of. But Zencity has definitely had a really, really big role in that goal of being effective, efficient, and really engaging communicators in our city and for our city, because we really believe that we are in charge of our city's story.
I love it. Now I feel like now I'm going to channel my inner, Angie on my television Zoom vision webinar skills here. So
gotta have a good segue.
I love it. Chris, what about you?
Well, Carrie, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today, and excited to hear from Angie and Sue about everything going on in their cities. My name is Chris Graham. I'm the Public Information Officer for the City of Deland. Actually came from the news industry as well, print news. I was in print journalism for about 8 years before going over to the City of Deland in 2016. We're in between Daytona Beach and Orlando, and we're home to America's best Main Street. And actually, we're the skydive capital of the world. We have Skydive Deland here. A lot of skydivers come here. It's a great growing city. Like everyone else, everyone's moving to Florida. When I first started here, we had 32,000 residents. We're now up to 40,000. So 8,000 people in 8 years. It's a great city, and I love being a part of the community. That's one of our best traits that we have here is our community is our lifeblood. And everyone knows everyone here. Even though we're growing, I still run into someone that I know everywhere I go. And that's kind of what's great about working in local government is people see the work that you're doing. They know that you're making a difference, like Sue said. And really, my mantra is getting people the right information at the right time to make sure they can make the best decision possible for them and their families. And so it's an honor, it's a privilege to be able to have this role, and it's one that I love doing every day.
I love it. The passion is showing through. So, Chris, you mentioned something about community, right? Community being the lifeblood, and that's really what gets you going and why you're in government. Can you talk to me about the interaction that you have with your community currently and really what the importance is around engagement there?
Right. So mostly, a lot of PIOs now are on social media. That's where a lot of your interaction happens. But, residents will see me talking on TV or out in an event. We have like over 70 events in our city every year. It's important to be out there, be a face in the community. Much like the mayor or city manager, people know that you're there to help them make sure that their quality of life is great, and really to make sure that they're informed. So that's really as far as my interactions. Now that I have 2 kids, I'm not out as much, but I try to be as visible as possible.
I love it. Sue, what about you? Talk to me about the importance for you and your community with the engagement.
Yeah, thank you, Carrie. And, I should have also identified geography where we're located. Not many people have heard of Dunedin. We are just north of Clearwater Beach, Clearwater, Florida. We're in the Tampa Bay area. So we're close to Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater. That is our neighborhood. We have a very, very engaged community here. And in fact, one of our brand pillars in Dunedin is every voice counts. And it truly is a city of self-expression. So one of the things that when I got here 3 years ago, and Angie, it sounds like you've had to create a department as well. There was a communications department here, but it was really more of a TV station. And it was a TV station that operated kind of like a separate TV station. It really didn't operate for the benefit of the community in terms of information, education, engagement. It was really more like entertainment. So I've had to build a department and hire staff, and I feel we've really come a long way in 3 years. And so what we have done is through all of those platforms, right? Chris mentioned social media. We have a lot of events here as well in Dunedin, a lot of events. And we also have opportunities for public meetings, for public face-to-face. So between those and live streaming our commission meetings, which we've been doing for a very long time on YouTube, Facebook, and our website, but really getting information out to people in where they are and identifying where they are. We know where our residents are on Facebook. We also launched an e-newsletter 2 years ago, and we can't rely on Facebook algorithms, right? We can't rely on Facebook. And a great example is today, right? There was a huge, Facebook crash, total outage. It was in the middle of our commission meeting, but we were still live streaming on our website and on YouTube. But this e-newsletter is our number one tool. It is a weekly e-newsletter. We encourage our residents to subscribe, and we went from like 2,000 subscribers to about 9 in 2 years, and that grows every week. So one of the things I say, my staff knows, that if we are not managing the narrative, others will manage it for us. And that was the state of Dunedin when I came here, which is why one of the first things I did is I asked my city manager for permission to get Zencity, because not only were we building our platforms and our messaging and the way we did it, we like to do it creatively. Dunedin is a very fun city. It's called Fun Eden as well. But we want to make, I wanted to really get a better handle on what that sentiment was in the community.
Sue, I love it. Angie, with the new role of community engagement, talk to me about what's been really the importance for you around trying to make that happen in Bettendorf.
Yeah, certainly. One of the things that I always joke with my kind of newly formed team is that really the city just needed a really good organizer of all the different ways that you can communicate with residents. And I am very much that. I have a ginormous calendar that you can't see that has all of our content for the next 2 months on it. But, besides that, and what we do internally to organize ourselves, we've got, of course, the standard city council meetings. We live stream those on YouTube as well, because no one wants to leave their house anymore. And oh my goodness, I have to drive to City Hall and actually sit in the council chambers. Nobody does that anymore unless they're really, really mad about something. But we are interacting and engaging on a daily basis through social media, our website. We have a text message email system. We also have something that's gone over really, really great in our community called our mayor's message. It's a weekly message that our mayor does. It's about to hit its 200th episode next Friday. It was something we actually started during the pandemic, and it's turned into this weekly video that covers any and all topics of the city. He has a different guest on every single week. So that's really, really cool. A cool thing, a little feather in our cap that we have. We really, really try to meet people where they're at in life, because some people only want to engage with the city via Facebook. For others, it's next door. For others, they have social media, but they're exhausted by it because there's just so much noise on there. So they want their city news, their government news in email or in text message form. So we actually have a webpage called Be in the Know, kind of a play off the Be in Bettendorf, where people can customize how they communicate with the city and vice versa. And we actually track their preferences through a survey that we created via Zencity. So it's working out very, very nicely.
I love it. Now, I think all three of you have mentioned social media. Sue, you mentioned it first, so I'm going to start with you. How can leveraging, maybe not Facebook today, but Facebook in general, right? So how can leveraging these online networks like Nextdoor, Angie, you mentioned Nextdoor, Facebook, Instagram, how can that help you effectively gather the constituency feedback on various projects and initiatives?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we are on Nextdoor, Twitter, now X, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and LinkedIn. And so what we do, we are really big on data and metrics. So we measure every week. We look at all of our analytics from all of our social media platforms, from all of our content, and we do that monthly as well. And we really, I have been able to identify what resonates with our residents. And we know that they are mostly on Facebook. And again, we've done that through the metrics and the analytics. They're not as active on Nextdoor, which is very different from my prior city. In Ohio, where Nextdoor had so much activity and engagement. But what we really also get from the metrics and the analytics is, we try to measure that sentiment, but we use our social media platforms not just for putting content out, but for social listening as well. That is really important. And that then drives more content, right? That drives the need to either create a little campaign about, a better campaign on recycling, or, there's so much misinformation around a certain topic that we need to either create more content. And we do that in so many different ways. So on our website as well, we just launched a new website this fall. We have all that content lives on there as a hub, but we have to drive people there. And we use social media to do that, right? The website is a hub, social media is the vehicle, and the newsletter. That e-newsletter is that opt-in. You receive it in your email inbox. You don't have to go to social media if you're exhausted by it, like Angie mentioned. And I think a lot of people are. I've actually seen some trends that there are fewer people engaging with social media right now, which is really hard to believe. But I think a lot of us are exhausted by it. But it is really trying to listen to them to see, and what are those topics that just get people fired up, right? Either in a good way and a bad way.
And that's the major push, like whether it's you're seeing your STPs, right? Your same 10 people, whether that's on Nextdoor or whether that's, on Facebook. So Angie, talk to me about your kind of everything to do with Nextdoor, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the mayor's message, which I think is absolutely amazing. Coming from a small town myself, I live in right outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm going to have to write a letter to our PIO over there and tell her we need mayor's message.
Well, first, let me just start when you're talking about social listening. And sometimes you don't even realize like, oh, that's the reason why we're currently doing a pick up your dog poop campaign. It's because of social listening. So it just cracked me up. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's, sometimes it just is in your mind and you don't, you're going through all the steps and you don't realize, oh, that's because of what we're doing every single day. That's why we are now putting graphics together on dog poop. But yeah, there's no denying it that social media is one of our
Angie,
top
we
ways.
have whole videos on Scoop the Poop. So yeah, I can share
Send
them
it to
with
me.
you.
I need this help. Anyway, I wrote down 2 things from Sue today, this and then the weekly newsletter. This
And
is
you
great.
might as well add a third with Scoop the Poop. Let's go.
Yeah, this is great. But yeah, we have a lot of social media platforms. And honestly, one of the first goals when I joined the city 18 months ago was to streamline how many we had because they just weren't effective anymore. It used to be that every group and every department, every division wanted their own Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, like all the pages. And that used to be kind of the thing. But in 2023, last year, we really decreased everything by half. So we started with 35 social media platforms at the beginning of the year. By the end of the year, we were down to 20. And those 20 social media platforms grew between 8% and 24%. And we know that because of Zencity, because of data, because we track our content, because we track it weekly, monthly, yearly. You could do it daily. And they're presented in different ways, from internally to fun, kind of competitive things that we do, to externally as formal presentations to council. Plus, through Zencity's community survey, which is such a powerful tool, especially because we're a couple of segments into it now. They share that, on social media platforms organically. So we're getting a lot of feedback on our city that we would not otherwise think to ask about, like cleanliness and maintenance, and, just even the things that you overlook, like asking people about our parks. And public works services and things like that. So those are some of the ways that we're really, really utilizing social media, but also Zencity.
No, I love that. And sort of with people's perception being the co-pilot to reality, right? And asking them about how they feel. Chris, talk to me a little bit about what you're doing in the social media realm to drive engagement.
So yeah, Sue and Angie really touched on most of what I was going to say, but with our social media, we have this huge audience that we can get to with a click of a button, really. And that's really that's where our residents are: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn to some extent, Nextdoor. But one of the things we were talking about before we started was that really with today's media landscape, local government is becoming its own news agency. I don't get calls from reporters anymore asking about what happened last night in downtown Deland. I have to put that information out there. And so if we're not the ones driving that information, our residents probably aren't going to hear about it, or they're going to hear some misinformation from, some gossip in some of these groups that they're a part of. So really, taking control of that narrative and making sure that you're putting out the right information so people know that what's going on in their community.
I love it. And so, Angie, you're doing a lot with social media, right? All of you all are. And I love that you're talking about controlling the narrative, Chris. And so we've been talking about all the great things that you can do and all the great things that social media can afford us. So Talk to me a little bit, Angie, about the obstacles, right? Let's talk about any kind of challenges that you've had in really engaging through those online platforms, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges about social media, I think Sue alluded to this, that we don't know the algorithms. We don't know what's going to stick anymore on anyone's feed because there's so much going on and they're scrolling, they're scrolling, they're scrolling. I'm doing it all the time as well. So again, we're really focused here on quality over quantity when it comes to, again, the number of platforms we have, how often we post, and the content itself. But here's something else. Through Zencity, we can look back at content from a year ago when we're planning like our next month, like we just got through our March calendar. We can look back at every platform and what was sticking last March or in March 2022, see what those top stories were, those top engagements were, and for the good, bad, or ugly, right? Should we do something like that again? Should we do another naming contest for our recycling trucks and competition and do a Zencity survey for them, or prevent something that went really bad from happening again too? I think that's a really powerful tool to be able to look back in your Zencity dashboard to what was really resonating with residents, or maybe not so much a year ago or even 2 years ago. We definitely in our community have those same 10 people, the STP. We also have that quiet majority in our city who are just kind of like, we trust you and you're going to do, good things with our money, which we're very, very grateful for. But that means when somebody does comment or share, we are really, really paying attention to that. And it's because of Zencity's filters on that dashboard that makes that really, really helpful to us because we can get it really, really quick.
Angie, thank you for that. Chris, what about you? What kind of challenges have you seen, and give us any ideas on how you've overcome them, or if it's still a challenge? I feel like we're all a great powerhouse team that can help each other out. I mean, Angie's already gotten a ton from Sue already. This is amazing.
Yeah, no, I've gotten some great ideas from both of them. But yeah, we're at the mercy of the algorithm. I kind of joke that I'll post like this, groundbreaking information about, hey, we're revising our strategic plan. We're going to set the course for our city, and hey, we want you to be involved. And I get maybe 5 people like my post, but then I post hey, it's sunny in downtown Deland, and it's beautiful here, and I get like it goes viral. So it's really, the algorithm is really content based. Unfortunately, it likes certain things that may not align with how you want to engage with your residents. I say that to say sometimes we do get good interaction with organic posting. You just have to kind of it's kind of trial and error, really. But one way to bypass that is boosting your posts. We don't do that often, but and I'll talk about this in a little bit about what we did with Zencity, one of our projects. But boosting your posts at least can cut through the noise and make sure that people actually see it. It's not my favorite way of doing that, but that's one way to help you drive success.
I love it. Sue?
Yeah, I think one of our greatest challenges with social media, and Angie and Chris both really hit on the main ones, is that we can't really manage the algorithm and engagement, because no matter how many times we post something, people go and after an event, they're like, I wish I would have known about this. Well, it doesn't matter how many times you put it out there, people are going to say that. But I think the bigger challenge for us anyway, and we're a city of about 37,000. And as I said, very active, very engaged, very vocal. So there's so many of these non-official Facebook pages that are out there, right? That we as a city cannot respond to. If we did, it would have to be us, right? Me personally, Sue Burness. And I don't really want to put myself out there because it's a really slippery slope, right? And then of course that just can make things even go worse. But so much of that misinformation and so much of what should be on our platforms, or people should be coming directly to us to ask the question, are happening in these other Facebook pages. Some of them have given us access so that we can pull that data through Zencity. Some we can't get in touch with the admins, or they just completely ignore us. So I think that's one of our challenges. I often try to empower other people. Like I've got a committee of residents, a small committee. It's the Public Relation Advisory Committee. And often they will send me texts and they'll say, did you see what's happening on this thread? And I'm like, yes, but I'll give you the link. All you have to do is say, hey, this information is on the city's website. You can find more here. But even for them, sometimes that's uncomfortable, right? Because we know what social media is like today, and it can be so toxic. The other thing I think is so challenging is that when we have people who don't live here that just throw, darts and poop and all that stuff, since we're talking about that, they just create these really negative threads and they don't live here. And trust me, I looked them up and I realized that no, they live in Clearwater, or they live in St. Petersburg, or in Iowa. So that's what's really hard as well. And we are very, very cognizant of social media policies and what we can and can't do. And we really don't delete posts. We hide posts, for all the right reasons, if they're selling information or if they are, violating our social media policy. So, but I'm really concerned about the challenges that we're going to face during this next election season. And we actually have a local election here as well with a lot of candidates. So we're going to have to really buckle up and really kind of navigate that. So that will be a challenge as well.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned, right, especially around social media policies. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit, but stay with policy, because whether they exist or they not, or it's the wild, wild west, we're going to talk about AI. So everyone's like, oh, here it comes. 30 minutes in, and it's the first time I'm going to mention AI, but it is here. We actually had a great catch up, the three of us or four of us earlier, really around ChatGPT and other kind of AI tools. So I want to ask, and this could be a vulnerable moment, ladies and gentlemen, but really, how do you think, right? In what ways can you use AI to streamline the process of gathering feedback and or sharing on projects, or are you not there yet? So I think right now, Sue, we were talking about policies, so let's talk AI.
Yeah, sure, Carrie. So we are using AI in a variety of ways. Obviously, Zencity was my real first interaction with AI, before AI became a thing, right? Because whenever I explained Zencity to anyone, I said it's driven by AI and human analysis. I think the human analysis part is key, right? And that is what we need with AI. AI we are on the cusp of that next big wave evolutionary change. I mean, we can feel it, right? I mean, it's hard to even keep up with it right now. But I think that we are embracing it as our team here, and we're using it mostly, ChatGPT and Zencity for content creation, even for video creation, right? Video voiceover we've used AI to enhance our videos, to minimize noise in the background. But in terms of community engagement, what that means, it's really hard to know. And as I said, when I get data, and that's what I love about the Zencity reports, when I ask for a report on a project and they give me the data, but they give me the human analysis as well. And I do think those two are critical together because there's so much nuance and there's so much that happens around data, and data tells a story. So, but you need that human analysis, and we embrace AI because we think it's going to make us more efficient. And we're a small team of 4, and if we can get things done faster, and we're also, what Angie said, we're less about quantity, we're more about quality, and that is really applies to everything that we do.
I love that you talked about the sort of the human piece of things. That we were catching up earlier, really around, the possible gender bias of AI and even like AI not writing things correctly. So I love that you're mentioning the human element to things. So Chris, talk to me a little bit about human elements, AI, what's going on in your world?
Yeah, we're really just scratching the surface of AI. Zencity has some great tools. I talked about your press release generator on organic. That's kind of nice. I don't use it all the time, but I just kind of play with it just to see what it spits out at me. Report generators just really right now it's more of an efficiency thing. I think once we get a better understanding of the technology, we'll be able to use it in other ways. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to look, but it's going to create a world of possibilities, I think. Um, Again, we don't know what the future is going to hold, but I really do think, just some of the things that I've been using, like Sue mentioned, enhancing some of our videos. I've played around with that, just typing in a few prompts and then it spits out a video at you that you're like, hey, I could actually use this. So I think right now, I think efficiency is really what it's going to be used for. But I think we're going to see a bunch of possibilities here in the very near future, and that I know everyone's really just kind of waiting to see what happens.
Absolutely. Angie, what about you from Bettendorf and AI, the AI almost revolution? What's going on there?
Well, just to like jump on to what Chris just said about how it's going to help us with efficiency, it's where like efficiency meets how effective your message is too, though, right? And I think that is where the human aspect of it comes into play. I'll be completely honest, with Zencity first, like showed us the AI tool and they're like, try just typing in a couple things and it'll create your post. I almost walked out the door and was like, no, 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 I can't do this. I cannot do this. I'm too much of a storyteller and a wordsmith at heart. But I do understand it's part of the future. I understand that AI is going to have a role on our community engagement team. They're going to hold a position on our also team of 4. And so I'm trying to be very open-minded to the idea of someone else, possibly creating my posts or my press releases. But whatever role AI eventually takes, I really do believe in the human aspect of everything we do, just like Sue said. Before we get anything that gets shared out to residents, it needs that second set of eyes, of course. But also it needs the human aspect because our residents need to know that we are taxpayers too. We are residents too. We are quad citizens, as we call it. So I think the way we word things, the way we message things needs to have that empathetic human touch, even if AI does the first chunk of the work. And also because my brain is so wired now with our brand guidelines that we worked so hard to create last year, we need to make sure that our brand voice is in every single message and thing that we do. And sometimes, you can work with ChatGPT or AI to kind of get there. But sometimes we just know the way we need to say something in our voice or the way that our residents, it's going to resonate with them. So I do believe that there's going to be a role of AI. I'm definitely not discrediting it. My husband is a data scientist for John Deere. He works with AI every single day. And so we constantly are talking about how it is going to be the future. But yeah, we're not there yet. I'm not there yet.
But this is the part that I love. Everyone is at a different part of their AI journey. I am just starting to embrace ChatGPT for certain things. I happen to have some folks on my team who are very versed with it. And I feel like all of us now have some tips and tricks. Angie, I love that you mentioned, and Chris and Sue, you both did to some extent. So I'm going to turn this question over to you because Angie really talked about the human touch, right? Sue talked about the human element. I want to dig into that, which is how can you balance, right? So Angie gave, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. So Sue, I want to come back to you. How can you balance, right? The need for these automated processes in order to scale, right? I think both of you talked about a team of 4. Chris, how large is your team? Or 2?
2 people.
We got 2. We've got Chris's team of 2, and then we've got Sue and Angie's team of 4. So how can we balance like really a strong need, right? To be effective and efficient, doing more with less, if dare I say, right? How do you balance those things like AI generated reports or press releases with that personal touch and interacting with residents? So Sue, I'm going to start with you on that one.
Sure. And actually, I'm going back to what Angie said. So, we have used AI for generating a script for a video. And actually, what it does is it gives us that foundation to start with, right? And then going back to those prompts, right? You may need to change the tone. We're really big on brand. In fact, we're going through a brand refresh right now, not changing our logo, but we're going through a brand refresh to really hone in on all of those brand elements, right? The brand experience, the words, the phrases, the images, all of that. So brand voice and tone is key. And because we're a very unique, distinct community, we want that to come through in everything we do. So that is where, exactly to what Angie said, that's where we come in. We may be able to use that to create efficiencies. The first draft of that script is a great place to start, but then how do we go in and make it our own? And we are very picky. We are very, again, demanding of quality of what we put out to our residents. We want them to engage and feel like, yes, that speaks to me. So we have to have staff that understands, what that goal is and what that voice is. And I think more importantly, what it's going to do is to create those efficiencies that, you still have someone shooting the video, getting the B-roll, writing the script, creating the content, but they can make it look better. They can, or AI can just, and actually we've seen some crazy things recently where there are videos that are generated by AI completely that are with drone types of shots that are scary real, that are, not quite there, but where they were a year ago to where they are today, thinking about what that's going to do. But there again, you still need the humans, I believe, and especially those who are, managing the news of your city, the content, the brand, all of that together has to be, we don't want to look like cookie cutters. I mean, and that's what the fear is everything is going to sound alike or look alike. And so that's where the creativity and that, identifying your brand and making that shine through in everything you do.
I love it. And you brought back up kind of managing the message. It's like a theme, right? That Chris,
Totally.
I love this, that Chris mentioned right at the beginning. So Chris, your team of two, kind of team of three with AI. Talk to me a little bit about how do you maintain that personal touch while managing the message?
Right. Well, Sue kind of touched on it. AI doesn't have a soul, right? Or at least hopefully it doesn't ever have a soul, or else we're probably in trouble. But again, I use AI a lot for efficiency purposes, and but the thing is, it's still learning. It still thinks my mayor of the last 20 years, he retired 2 years ago. It still thinks he's mayor. And sometimes I'll just type in some prompts and I'll let it spit out a news release. And I send it to my department heads just to see how accurate it actually is. I don't do any proofing or anything. I'm just like, hey, how does this look? So there's certain things that it can't do like that. But honestly, when I'm on social media or when I'm doing whatever I'm doing, I try to be organically involved and trying to be engaged with our residents. I love that Angie mentioned that she has a content calendar. I don't have a content calendar. I am fly by the seat of my pants PIO, and we're organically posting every day. And our inbox is open, and I personally respond to people who have legitimate problems that they need fixed. And one of our core principles at Deland is helping people. And so, really, there is a space for automated processes that help us be more efficient. But, until AI does develop a soul, we're the soul of our organization, and we're going to help people get the information they need.
I love that you brought up the AI doesn't have a soul, and also the piece around that it still thinks that your mayor is still your mayor 2 years later. So I kind of want to turn that into transparency and accountability. I don't think it's too far of a stretch, right? So talk to me a little bit about like in that theme, Chris. What kind of measures do you have in place right now to ensure this accountability and transparency? No longer talking about AI when it comes to sort of the publishing, because you mentioned, right? So if Angie did not have her background on, there's a huge content calendar behind you. We've got organic posting from Chris. Sue probably has a little bit of both somewhere in her office. So talk to me about that transparency and accountability, especially when it comes to publishing outcomes, right? Of any type of engagement that you're already doing with residents.
Right. Well, honestly, the state of Florida is really our accountability. Anything that we publish is public record. So that really keeps us accountable. But, as far as transparency, I think being vulnerable and being accountable to your residents is what is going to help them engage with you better. If it looks like you're trying to hide something, they're going to see right through it. So really, I have no problem publishing results of our polls and any of our surveys. It really, it really just usually proves a point that we're doing the right thing and people agree with us, honestly. And if they don't agree with us, I'll post that too. It's as far as us, my honesty is the best policy. That's my measure, really. But really, anything that we do is public record, so that just that takes care of itself.
So the big boss being the state of Florida, I'm going to move from one Floridian to another. So Sue, what about you?
Oh, Chris is right. Yeah, that was actually a little bit of a learning curve for me coming down from Ohio. We had sunshine laws, but not like the state of Florida. In fact, we had a little email exchange. My one of my colleagues and Governor DeSantis is from Dunedin. So before he announced he was running for president, we were inundated with media contacts. And so he was in town one day, and we didn't know about it, for a fundraiser. And there was this little email exchange between one of my team members and our deputy city manager. That little email exchange, which was very, benign. I mean, we didn't know, and we acknowledged we didn't know he was going to be here, became the lead in a Tampa Bay Times story that actually ended up in the Miami Herald and in places all over the country. So that is transparency, right?
That is definitely some transparency.
Yes. But to piggyback on a little bit of what Chris said, so we have surveys that we do, citizen surveys, business surveys. We publish all that information out there. We just had our State of the City last Thursday night, and there were two things that people commented on, and it was transparency and it was pride. When you provide people with what's happening, and you let them know, the good and the bad, but you show them the state of their city, they are going to trust you more. And that really is what we want them to do. There's always distrust of government. And so that's where, transparency can really play in that. One of the things I'm going to throw out, though, as a kudos to Zencity, what we love are the engage pages. So we brought them on with Zencity 360 last spring, about a year ago. And these pages are killing it. I mean, they have become the best tool for us to talk about transparency. Any project that is happening in the city, there's no mystery about it, right? You go to that engage page, that project page, and it is our widget on our front page of our website. We are driving people there all the time. We have amazing metrics on it. People can get the timeline, the background, the budget, the fund source, there is no mystery in that. And so when we see these questions on social media and the rumors, right, on our platforms, we can just, kindly direct people to this page. And here is where you can learn more about, this specific project. So, we are always providing our reporting of anything that we do, either on our website to our commission. So, yes, and anything that people want is anything, including our emails, is a public record.
So Angie, tell me more about Bettendorf. I mean, like what is going on there with not new to really the role, but and coming from especially news anchor, right? Coming from I'm managing the message, I'm being very transparent. I am going to give you everything, right? Like to what Sue mentioned about, finding the emails, to really now doing that within your city. Talk to me about accountability and transparency.
Yeah, well, it's funny you bring up kind of the media role that I used to sit in a chair, and I called it community reporting, whereas one-way communication into not even a crowd of people, it was into, a screen, into a prompter. But really what we try to do in the city, of course, is community engagement, which is more two-way communication. And you need to have both, and sometimes you just need to get the message out, and, you don't need anybody to be commenting on it. You just need to get the message out. Sometimes you get the message out and they still want to comment. And so, you deal with that when you need to deal with that. But we are Midwest nice around here, right? We are Iowa. And so they might not be commenting on the post, but that they're going to comment in your DMs. They're going to slide right in there. They're going to tell you exactly what you think. And what they're most shocked about is when we answer those direct messages, when we answer the phone calls, when we answer the emails, when we actually pick up the phone and engage with them in that way. So it's nothing necessarily that Zencity can track, although it'd be hilarious if Zencity one day could track the DMs that come through. But it is something that we pride ourselves on, is that we have outstanding service. And it's not just in the communications department, it's our front desk clerks who, whenever anybody comes into City Hall, or it's our city council or our wonderful mayor. When it comes to accountability, Nextdoor has your name on it. That's one of the things that they pride themselves on as a social media platform, is that your name and your title are in every single post. So there's that element of accountability there. And that partnership with Zencity has just been super, super valuable to us as we've learned to use Nextdoor more versus years before. Everything is on our website, so everything is transparent there. We have 2 engage pages that we started through Zencity last year, our update to our comprehensive plan, and then our Parks and Rec strategic plan. And that actually included a huge survey, signing up for focus groups. That was all done through the engage pages. So there's a lot of elements there that Zencity helps us with.
So Angie, I feel like if you just say it, then it gets created, because our CTO is actually on this call and he said it's coming. So starting from comments in your official accounts, so you've heard it here folks first, starting from comments on your official accounts, and then later in the year, like this year, DMs. Who knew? You just say it out loud, and then Ido, our amazing CTO, is like, no problem, I got you.
Very powerful woman.
I know, this is great. See, now we get everything you need. Anything else, just throw it out there. He's here. So I will say with about 10 minutes left, I want to make sure that I think I've learned so much on this call, and I know that you all have already learned from each other, but I want to leave everybody, since you've spent 48 minutes with us so far, I want to make sure that we're giving you a gift, which is feedback from our 3 amazing, not feedback, tips and tricks, maybe some feedback too, on just some things that you might try to do within your own cities and counties going forward, so that you have something that you can leave with that you may not have thought about before. So Chris, I'm going to start with you on this one. These are tips and tricks by Chris that we can kind of leave our folks with today.
Right. Well, I guess it's more of a success story, really. We're relatively new to the Zencity platform, I think about a year or so. But we're using Engage, Organic. Now we're trying how to experience surveys as well. We're getting that up and running. But we really used Engage for last year for our strategic plan revision. And this kind of ties into the entire conversation that we had today. Our strategic plan guides the city and its decision-making. We created it more than 20 years ago. We were a much smaller city then. But when we did when we did the strategic plan, we engaged with our residents in community forums. Well, now after the pandemic, remote work, people don't go to those community forums. And, my city manager was like, hey, we're still going to do these community forums. I'm like, you're not going to get anyone there. And honestly, we had maybe 10 people come to like 5 meetings. But what we did was we took the questions that we were going to ask in the community forums and we put them in a survey. And we're like, hey, why don't we push that out to our social media? And honestly, I looked up, we had more than 800 people fill out a few questions on the survey, which amounted to 4,624 data points that we could use for our strategic plan revision. And it was a lot of open-ended stuff. It wasn't like, do you agree with this? Do you agree with that? We were getting real conversations from people about what they wanted to see for their city. And it really helped us inform us for revising our strategic plan. And we used, we were driving people to Zencity Engage through our social media. We were boosting posts. It was really just, it was a great way to start out on the Engage platform, and we have ideas on what we're going to do in the future. So I just wanted to give that success story. It was really useful for what we were doing.
I love that. I love the success story that you can pick things out of. Sue, what about tips and tricks by Sue? I mean, we've already shared all sorts of great stuff. So give us something else.
Well, one of the things I'm going to continue with the Engage page, because it sounds like we're all doing a little differently, which I really love to hear. And I love to hear success stories and how people are using whatever tools or platforms, but especially Zencity. So we've made Zencity a kind of a landing page for all of our projects. And what we've done is we have put them into buckets, right? So so we've got strategic opportunities. One of those is our strategic plan, which we are engaging in right now for the first time. And Chris, you know what? The Dunedin people, they still come out to meetings. We often think no one's coming to these town hall meetings, and they will fill them up. But we have to find all the different ways to get them through surveys as well. But then we've got all of our public works projects. So we've got a lot of those happening. And then we've got another bucket for parks and recreation because we've got a lot of those. So what we've done is we've had to train our staff, not my staff, but our city staff, right? And we have to get the content. So we created an online form that our website coordinator has done. So that online form is on our intranet. And so what we do is we give that link to them. We walk them through. I mean, it's very simple. We get all the intake from them. So we get the background and the budget. And, so we don't have to go hunting through a bunch of commission memos and whatnot to get all that information. And then we get the timeline. If there's videos, we add them there. If there's been a meeting, we'll clip that commission meeting just for that conversation. So that has been really great. And we're training them and they love them. So staff loves it because they know everything lives there. And then we're getting into a cadence of making sure we connect with them, whether it's quarterly, monthly, how active that project is. Like right now with, our public works projects and, road, street paving, all of those are getting ready to begin. And residents want to know, they want to know what's happening in their neighborhood. So they love it. Our staff loves it. And our residents love it because we can just get that information. One link takes you to all those pages. The other thing I wanted to mention about calendars. So Chris, I totally understand being a 2-person team and that whole organic. I find this need to be a little bit more like we have to plan the month, right? We've got themes, but we use a platform called Loomly. And it is a digital platform, and you actually can create the posts in Loomly, and you can schedule, you can duplicate, you can move around. And what I really love is that there's also an approval process. So Angie, when you mentioned all of the platforms, I totally congratulate you in bringing them all together, because I know so many cities want a page. Everybody wants a page. Parks wants a page, fire wants a page, police wants a page.
It's like Oprah over here.
Exactly. You get a page. Yes, exactly. So we only have our city platforms, and we did allow fire. They really conveyed a very a good story on why they needed to do this. So and actually they're doing a great job. But that way I can have other people from other departments can provide their content. We can look at it, we can, approve it, all of that. So we are centralizing. So we were very decentralized, and we have centralized our communication methods, messengers, all of that during the last couple of years. So I think that's enough for me. We'll
I love it. Angie, we will wrap up our time with some fun tips and some tricks.
Well, I'm laughing at myself because I'm just so impressed by Chris and Sue and the work that they do. And I have like the most silliest, simplest story of how we use Zencity. So hopefully it's just a nice way to wrap up this wonderful hour that we've all been honored to be part of with you guys. So when I joined the city was already a Zencity client, but we weren't really using it. So one of my goals was to really dig deep. And I just kind of started with the dashboard, just really looking all over the dashboard. This is before Engage, just trying to figure out what we could do with this. And I thought a simple way to show what Zencity does for us, because a lot of our employees had no idea, was to simply share the top post of the month with our communications committee, which we meet every month. It includes a representative from each of our city departments. I make it a big old mystery. And then whichever post gets the top post, that department gets one of those ginormous #1 foam fingers. It's like a traveling trophy. Like, it's the best $5 I've ever spent on Amazon. 18 months later, they are so into it. They take pictures with it. They put it on display in their departments and put like a little write-up underneath it of why there's a foam finger sitting like on the lobby desk. It's a really, really healthy competition, though, that shows how Zencity is not just powerful with our external audiences. It can be really powerful with your internal audiences too, with morale and things like that. And so it just, overall, the things that we've been able to do with Zencity has just been amazing.
Well, I thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here with us today. I will also just say I've now learned, and I am not a PIO. I am not someone that has it works in community engagement every day other than here at Zencity. I have learned the importance of being organic when delivering a message while being structured, scheduling, probably an area of opportunity for me, all the while using a foam finger to motivate and prizes on the #1. I will say, Chris, Sue, Angie, you're going to be 3 people that I will continue to reach out to for all things that I might need to, because this was absolutely amazing. I am just honored that I got to be a small part of today. So thank you all very much. We will send out the recording as soon as it becomes available for those of you that wanted to rewatch or share. But again, Angie, Chris, Sue, thank you for your time. Thank you for those that are attending, and you'll hear from us soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Zencity.
Thank you,
for having me.
Zencity. Yeah. And
Yeah.
honored to be on the panel with Angie and Chris. It was really
Big
fun.
time. Big time. Let's do it again.
Absolutely. This might be hey, it might now be messaging instead of the mayor's message. We just may have our own.
Scoop
Thank
up
you.
the poop.
Have a great day.
I'll send that to you. Yeah.
Please. Thank you. I'll send you our brand guidelines.
Okay. Thank you.